What if I told you that the only thing standing between you and the financial abundance you desire is a simple shift in your consciousness that can happen in the next few minutes? Right now, as you're watching this video, your subconscious mind is either working for you or against you when it comes to money, and most people have no idea which one it is. The truth is, your current financial situation isn't a reflection of how hard you work, how smart you are, or how lucky you've been. It's a direct mirror of what's been programmed into your subconscious mind. And here's the incredible part: you can reprogram it starting today. Dr. Joseph Murphy, one of the greatest minds in the study of the subconscious, discovered something that changed the lives of millions of people around the world. He found that your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's vividly imagined with emotion. This means that when you correctly impress upon your subconscious the feeling of already having wealth, your outer world has no choice but to conform to this inner reality. But here's where most people get it completely wrong. They focus on wanting money, needing money, hoping money will come, and every single one of these thoughts is actually programming poverty into their consciousness. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Has this ever happened to you? You work hard, you try to stay positive, you might even say affirmations, but somehow the money just doesn't flow the way you want it to. You see other people succeeding, seemingly effortlessly, while you struggle. The reason for this has nothing to do with external circumstances and everything to do with the frequency you're broadcasting from your subconscious mind. Joseph Murphy taught that we live in a mental and spiritual universe, and that the law of attraction isn't just some new age concept. It's a fundamental principle of consciousness that works with mathematical precision. The moment you understand that your thoughts, especially those charged with emotion, create corresponding experiences in your physical reality, everything changes. Your subconscious mind is like fertile soil. It will grow whatever seeds you plant in it, whether those seeds are of abundance or scarcity. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. I'm going to share with you the exact technique that Joseph Murphy taught for impressing wealth consciousness into your subconscious mind. And I'm going to show you why the traditional approach to manifesting money actually keeps you broke. The secret isn't about working harder or finding the right opportunity. It's about assuming the feeling of wealth right now before you see any evidence in your bank account. And when you truly grasp this principle and apply it correctly, the transformation can happen faster than you ever imagined possible. What you're about to learn isn't theory. It's based on documented cases of people who went from financial desperation to abundant prosperity by changing nothing but their inner consciousness first, and then watching their outer world reshape itself to match. This is where the real transformation begins, because understanding the principle is just the first step. The true power lies in the application. Joseph Murphy spent decades studying the mechanics of the subconscious mind, and what he discovered was nothing short of revolutionary. He found that there's a specific technique, a precise method of mental and emotional programming that bypasses all the resistance your conscious mind creates. This isn't about wishful thinking or repeating empty affirmations while your inner dialogue screams the opposite. This is about creating such a vivid and emotionally charged mental experience that your subconscious accepts it as reality. And once your subconscious accepts something as real, it moves heaven and earth to make it manifest in your physical experience. The hidden truth that most personal development teachers won't tell you is that passive knowledge is worthless. You can read 1,000 books about wealth consciousness, watch hundreds of videos about the law of attraction, and attend countless seminars, But if you don't actually do the inner work, if you don't apply the technique with precision and consistency, nothing will change. Murphy documented cases throughout his career where people experienced financial breakthroughs in hours, not weeks, not months, but literally within the same day they properly applied his method. One woman received an unexpected check in the mail. Another man got a job offer out of nowhere after years of unemployment. These weren't coincidences or lucky breaks. They were the direct result of impressing a new belief pattern onto the subconscious mind with such clarity and feeling that physical reality had no choice but to rearrange itself. If you want more content like this about Murphy's teachings and practical manifestation techniques, hit that subscribe button. You'll get everything I discover about consciousness and creating wealth from the inside out. The journey from scarcity to abundance isn't a long and arduous path. It's actually an instantaneous shift in consciousness that then unfolds in the material world. Behind the scenes of every financial miracle is this simple but profound decision: to stop living from the consciousness of "I want" and to start living from the consciousness of "I have." When Murphy taught this principle, he emphasized that your subconscious doesn't respond to what you say with your words. It responds to what you feel with your emotions. You can say, "I am wealthy," 1,000 times, but if the feeling behind those words is desperation, lack, and fear, that's what your subconscious will create more of. The impact of this realization cannot be overstated. It means you have the power right now to shift your entire financial reality by changing the emotional tone of your thoughts. Now, I want to go even deeper into this technique, because there's a specific way to do this that makes all the difference. If you're feeling that shift happening inside you right now, write in the comments, "I'm ready for abundance." What separates this from every other manifesting advice you've heard is the undeniable evidence behind it. Joseph Murphy didn't just teach theories. He documented real transformations from people across all walks of life. There was a salesman in California who was drowning in debt, barely making enough to feed his family, who applied Murphy's technique for exactly 30 days. By the end of that month, he'd closed the biggest deal of his career, completely unexpected, and his income tripled. A school teacher in New York, who'd been struggling financially for years, practiced this method every night before sleep, and within 2 weeks received an inheritance from a distant relative she didn't even know existed. These aren't fairy tales or exaggerated testimonials. These are documented cases from Murphy's own records, showing that when you shift your inner world with precision and conviction, your outer world has no option but to follow. But here's where most people stumble, and this is the hidden truth that determines whether this works for you or not. There are 3 non-negotiable elements that must be present for this technique to create results, and if even one of them is missing, you'll keep spinning your wheels. First, you need your complete attention, not half-hearted focus while you're scrolling through your phone or thinking about your problems. Your subconscious mind responds to the quality of your mental impressions, and if your attention is scattered, the impression is weak. Second, you must be willing to actually do this, not just understand it intellectually. Knowledge without application is useless. You can know everything about swimming, but until you get in the water, you'll never swim. The same principle applies here. The transformation only happens through consistent practice, not passive consumption. And third, perhaps most crucial, is your belief that this can work for you right now, not someday in the future. Not after you become more spiritual or more deserving, but immediately. Murphy taught that your belief is the bridge between the invisible world of consciousness and the visible world of manifestation. When you truly believe that your subconscious mind is already working on your behalf, creating opportunities and circumstances that align with your desired reality, that belief itself becomes the catalyst for rapid change. The impact of this cannot be underestimated. Your belief isn't just Positive thinking, it's the actual mechanism through which the subconscious receives its instructions. The journey you're on right now, watching this video, seeking answers, is already proof that something inside you knows there's a better way. Behind the scenes of your current struggle is a decision waiting to be made, the decision to accept that your mind is the most powerful tool you have for creating wealth. What I'm about to reveal next is the exact technique Murphy taught, the specific mental exercise that creates these miraculous results. And it's simpler than you might think. If this resonates with you, type in the comments. My mind creates my reality. The revelation that changed everything for Murphy, and for the thousands who applied his teachings, was this profound understanding. Your subconscious mind is not a passive observer of your life, it's the active creator of it. Think of your subconscious as the most sophisticated technology ever designed, constantly scanning your thoughts and feelings, interpreting them as instructions, and then working tirelessly to bring those instructions into physical form. The crucial part that most people miss is that your subconscious doesn't judge whether your thoughts are good or bad, helpful or harmful. It simply accepts them as commands and goes to work. When you repeatedly think, "I never have enough money," or "I'm always struggling financially," your subconscious hears that as a direct order and faithfully creates more. Situations where you don't have enough and continue struggling. This isn't punishment or bad luck, it's just the mechanical operation of a law. Murphy compared these principles to the law of gravity. They work whether you believe in them or not, whether you understand them or not. You don't need to understand electricity to flip a light switch and illuminate a room. And you don't need to comprehend every nuance of consciousness to use your mind to create wealth. The transformation happens when you grasp this one essential truth. There are invisible laws governing how thoughts become things, how feelings become circumstances, how mental images become material experiences. These laws operate with absolute consistency, which means that anyone, regardless of where they were born, what education they have, or what their current bank balance is, can use them to create prosperity. Behind the scenes of every success story is this same pattern, a shift in the subconscious programming followed by changes in external reality. The impact of this knowledge is staggering because it means you're not at the mercy of circumstances, the economy, your boss, or any external factor. Your financial destiny is being written by the dominant thoughts and beliefs stored in your subconscious mind right now. The hidden truth is that you've been using this creative power your entire life, but most people use it unconsciously, by default, creating more of what they already have. The journey to abundance requires a conscious decision to take control of this process, to deliberately impress upon your subconscious mind the exact financial reality you desire. What Murphy taught, and what I'm sharing with you right now, is that you don't need more willpower, more discipline, or more hustle. You need better mental programming. When you plant a seed of abundance deep in the fertile soil of your subconscious through the specific technique I'm about to show you, that seed must grow into corresponding results in your life. This isn't mysticism, it's the practical application of universal law. If you're beginning to see how powerful this really is, write in the comments, "I control my subconscious." The secret that Murphy uncovered through years of research and observation is elegantly simple yet profoundly powerful. You must assume the feeling of already having what you desire before it manifests in physical form. This goes against everything your logical mind tells you, because society conditions us to believe we'll be happy when we get the money. We'll feel secure when we see the bank balance increase. We'll relax when the opportunity arrives. But Murphy discovered that consciousness works in reverse. The feeling comes first, then the manifestation follows. When you genuinely feel wealthy right now, when you embody the emotional state of abundance before you see any evidence of it, you're sending a completely different signal to your subconscious mind. And that signal activates a different set of circumstances in your external world. Let me share with you a story that perfectly illustrates this principle in action. During the Great Depression, when millions were losing everything they had, there was a man whose entire world had collapsed. His career was gone, wiped out by the economic devastation sweeping across the country. He found himself in a desperate situation. He hadn't seen his family in years. They lived across the country, and he had no way to afford the train ticket to visit them. The longing to be with his loved ones was overwhelming, yet his pockets were completely empty. This man, in his desperation, came across Murphy's teachings about the subconscious mind and decided to try something that seemed absolutely absurd given his circumstances. Instead of focusing on his lack, instead of obsessing over the money he didn't have, he made a radical decision. Every single day, he would sit quietly and vividly imagine that he was already with his family. He didn't just think about it passively. He created an entire sensory experience in his mind. He felt the embrace of his mother, heard the laughter of his siblings, smelled the familiar scent of his childhood home, tasted the meals they would share together. The transformation wasn't in his bank account at first, it was in his emotional state. He stopped vibrating at the frequency of desperation and lack, and instead began to vibrate at the frequency of fulfillment and gratitude. A hidden truth here is that he wasn't pretending or lying to himself. He was using his imagination as the creative tool it was designed to be. Behind the scenes of physical reality, there's this invisible realm where all possibilities exist simultaneously, and your imagination is the vehicle that allows you to select which possibility becomes your experience. The impact of this practice became evident just 3 weeks later. If you're starting to understand how this works, write in the comments. Feeling creates reality. When this man sought guidance from a teacher well-versed in Murphy's principles, the advice he received sounded completely irrational, almost insulting given his dire circumstances. The teacher looked at him and said something that seemed to mock his reality. Stop thinking about wanting to be with your family. Stop wishing you had the money to travel, and instead live in your imagination as if you're already there. To a man with no money, no prospects, and no logical path forward, this sounded like madness. But there was something about the certainty in the teacher's voice, something about the conviction behind those words that made him decide to trust the process, even when everything in his rational mind screamed that it was impossible. The instruction wasn't vague or mystical, it was precise and practical. He was told to stop being the person who desperately wants to travel and become the person who has already arrived. This wasn't about positive thinking or repeating empty affirmations. This was about a complete transformation of identity at the level of feeling and imagination. Every morning when he woke up, instead of opening his eyes to his empty apartment and feeling the weight of his lack, he would lie in bed for 10 minutes and vividly construct the experience of being with his family. He would see their faces with crystal clarity, hear the specific tone of their voices calling his name, feel the warmth of their embrace, smell the familiar scent of his mother's cooking filling the house. If this shifted something in you, hit that like button. It helps this message reach more people who need to hear it. The journey he was on wasn't physical yet, it was entirely in his consciousness. But Murphy taught that consciousness is the only reality, and everything else is simply the reflection of that inner state. Behind the scenes of this mental practice, something profound was happening. His subconscious mind, which cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one, was accepting this new pattern as truth. The hidden truth that most people never grasp is that when you consistently impress an image upon your subconscious with emotion and sensory detail, you're not just daydreaming, you're actually rearranging the invisible forces that govern your life. The impact of this practice works on levels you can't see or measure, creating synchronicities, opportunities, and what most people would call coincidences. He wasn't waiting for circumstances to change so he could feel better. He was feeling better so that circumstances would change. This is the reversal of cause and effect that creates miracles, and it's exactly what Murphy taught in all his writings. Now, let me show you what happened next and why this principle is so devastatingly effective when applied correctly. If this is clicking for you, write in the comments, "I am already there." What Murphy discovered through decades of research is that the moments just before you fall asleep are the most powerful window for programming your subconscious mind. During this twilight state between waking and sleeping, your conscious mind releases its grip, your critical thinking dissolves, and your subconscious becomes incredibly receptive to suggestion. This is why the teacher emphasized one critical instruction above all others. When you go to bed at night, do not fall asleep in your current circumstances. Instead, construct in your imagination the experience of your wish already fulfilled, and gently drift into sleep while holding that mental scene. For this man, that meant every single night, regardless of how exhausted or discouraged he felt, he would lie in bed and create the same vivid experience. He wasn't in his cramped apartment anymore. In his mind, he was sitting at his family's dinner table, laughing at old stories, feeling the profound relief and joy of being home. The transformation wasn't happening in his external world, but something fundamental was shifting in his consciousness. Murphy taught that when you fall asleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you're planting seeds in the deepest layers of your subconscious, the layers that control what manifests in your physical experience. The decision to continue this practice, despite seeing no immediate results, required enormous faith. Night after night, for 4 full weeks, he maintained this mental discipline. There were moments of doubt, moments when his rational mind tried to convince him he was wasting his time, that imagination couldn't change his bank account or materialize a train ticket. But something inside him understood that this was different from mere hoping or wishing. This was an active participation in the creative process of consciousness. Behind the scenes, his entire vibrational frequency was changing. The desperation that had dominated his energy field was being replaced by the feeling of fulfillment, the hidden truth about manifestation that Murphy repeatedly emphasized is that persistence in the correct mental practice is what separates those who succeed from those who fail. Most people try visualization once or twice, don't see immediate results, and give up. But the subconscious mind needs repetition. It needs consistency. It needs the same impression over and over until that impression becomes your dominant mental state. The impact of those 4 weeks of dedicated practice was about to reveal itself in the most unexpected way. If you're committed to this journey, write in the comments, "I persist until it manifests." At the end of that 4th week, something extraordinary happened that defied all logical explanation. He received a letter in the mail from a relative he hadn't spoken to in over 5 years, someone who had no way of knowing his current situation or his desire to visit family. Inside that envelope were travel tickets, fully paid for, along with extra money for expenses. When he later asked this relative what prompted such generosity, the response was simply, "I don't know. I just had this overwhelming feeling that I needed to help you get home." This wasn't luck. This wasn't coincidence. This was the subconscious mind orchestrating circumstances in the physical world to match the inner reality that had been so persistently impressed upon it. Murphy spent years explaining the mechanism behind these seemingly miraculous events, and what he discovered aligns perfectly with modern quantum physics. He taught that in the invisible realm of consciousness, every possible version of your future already exists right now. There's a version where you're wealthy, a version where you're struggling, a version where you have perfect health, and a version where you're sick. These aren't fantasies. They're actual potentialities existing in what physicists call the quantum field. The transformation from potential to actual happens through observation and selection, which, in human terms, means through your focused attention and emotional investment. Your imagination isn't just daydreaming, it's the selection tool that chooses which version of reality collapses from possibility into your lived experience. When this man fell asleep every night experiencing the feeling of being with his family, he wasn't creating something from nothing. He was selecting an already existing timeline, an already present possibility, and pulling it into manifestation through the power of his sustained mental focus. Behind the scenes of physical reality, consciousness is constantly choosing and creating, and most people do this unconsciously, by default, which is why they keep recreating the same circumstances over and over. The hidden truth is that you're not trying to make something happen that isn't already available. You're simply tuning your frequency to match the reality you desire, like changing the channel on a radio. Every frequency exists simultaneously, broadcasting different programs, and your consciousness is the dial that determines which program you experience. The impact of understanding this shifts everything, because it means you're not at the mercy of chance or external forces. The journey to abundance isn't about fighting your way through obstacles. It's about aligning your inner state with the abundance that already exists in the field of infinite possibilities. If this revelation is opening your mind, write in the comments, "I choose my reality." Now, the reason imagination is so devastatingly powerful isn't because it's mystical or supernatural. It's because imagination is the language your subconscious mind speaks fluently. When you vividly imagine an experience with full sensory detail and genuine emotion, your subconscious cannot tell the difference between that imagined experience and a real one. Murphy documented this through countless examples, showing that the same neural pathways fire in your brain whether you're actually experiencing something or intensely imagining it. This means that when you consistently imagine yourself as wealthy, your subconscious begins to accept that as your identity, and once your subconscious accepts a new identity, it automatically begins to attract circumstances, opportunities, and resources that match that identity. The transformation happens at a level deeper than your conscious awareness. Your subconscious mind controls everything from your body language to the decisions you make, to the people you attract into your life. When you impress upon it the pattern of abundance through vivid imagination, you're literally reprogramming the operating system that runs your entire existence. Behind the scenes, your behavior changes. Your intuition guides you differently. You notice opportunities you would have previously missed, and you project an energy that draws prosperity toward you. Now, here's where Murphy's teachings become especially practical and immediately applicable. He discovered that the words you speak, particularly the words that follow "I am," carry immense creative power. When you say, "I am," you're not just describing yourself, you're defining yourself. You're commanding your subconscious to embody whatever comes next. If you say, "I am broke," your subconscious hears that as an instruction and works tirelessly to keep you broke. If you say, "I am struggling," you've just ordered your subconscious to create more struggle. But when you consciously choose to say, "I am abundant," "I am prosperous," "I am financially free," you're issuing a completely different set of instructions. The hidden truth is that most people unknowingly curse themselves with their own words, declaring poverty, lack, and limitation dozens of times per day without realizing they're programming their subconscious for failure. The impact of changing your "I am" statements cannot be overstated. It's one of the fastest ways to shift your consciousness and therefore your circumstances. Murphy taught that you should guard your I am declarations as carefully as you would guard a precious treasure, because they are literally shaping your destiny moment by moment. The journey from where you are to where you want to be begins with this simple decision to consciously choose what follows I am, instead of letting old programming run automatically. Right now, as you're absorbing this information, you have the power to make a new declaration about who you are. Financially, if you're ready to step into this power, write in the comments,